Hello everyone, and welcome to the Deeply Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deeply Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 214. Today is Saturday, January 13, 2018, and I'm glad you could join me today. We are in the Shadow Kingdom of Darkness today. It's actually the afternoon, it's just chilly today. I don't know. Let's check it out. So, it's 46, so I decided not to record outside. It's not, like, terrible, but not preferred. And really, the lighting isn't too bad right now, so, it's just the case where, I actually have the ceiling light on, because it's normally pretty dark in here, so. Whatever, it is what it is. It looks like I'm sort of scattered all over the place, but whatever. What is it? I'm trying out a new coffee today. So this is White Rock Coffee Roasters Kona. What is it? It's from some particular farm and whatever in the Kona region of the Big Island, Hawaii. So I even made AeroPress. Not like it's that crazy, so it'd be the case where I'll just heat up the water in the microwave and then press it out, but it's delicious. It's always fun to try new things, so that was a new one for me. I think I was having a San Marco roast that we ended up going through pretty quickly, so woo, scarf. What would it be? I made it to the 5th repeat. I forgot to weigh last night. I suppose that I could weigh soon and call it good, but it's obviously getting to be a pretty good scarf length at this point. So the 4 repeats was about, 4 repeats was about my wingspan, so it really is like it's going to be a proper scarf length, which means since I got my 5th one done, I have 3 more to go, so yay! What would it be? So this is coming along. It is still my only project on the needles. What would it be? So I just barely got to the 5th repeat last night. It is sort of in the awkward zone. What would it be? Because it's too complicated for the dark, but not very engaging otherwise. So it's a good knit night project. So it's coming along. I am using Pashmina and Lepidoptera, and then Madeline Tosh's 80-10-10 Sport in the Blue Nile and Sea Glass colorways. And it is really fun. What would it be? I'm happy with how everything's turning out on this guy. And I'll probably have to shed a sweat or shave it at least a little bit before it goes into regular use due to various encounters with the ground. But getting pretty close now. What would it be? It looks like there's going to be a lot of knitting time next weekend, probably, so that means that there might be a chance of actually finishing it a little sooner than 3 weeks from now. It seems like I've been rocking steady with the repeat a week, so yeah, that seems about right. I was hoping to finish for reals this project. Let's see. I have my giant bag of stuff that feels like I have rocks in it. Maybe there's something justifiable about it, or maybe this sweater is just that heavy. That's the problem with having the camera farther away. So I did end up sewing on my loops last night. Obviously, still have the ends to tack down, but I won't do that till I get the buttons on too. But to get a little bit further on this, I decided it was going to be a little bit too crazy to like lay the sweater out on the floor at Starbucks. Oh. Well, that's not supposed to be there. Looks like I got a stitch marker attached, but it is coming along. What was it? After the podcast, I did try it on the mirror and tried to figure out everything and was happy, and so I marked out where I wanted my toggles and loops to be, and we'll go from there. And then it'll be pretty easy to change if needed. The only thing that I did differently this time was I made sure to twist the loops a little bit more, to have it be more like the pattern had. Based on sort of how everything is, it seemed easiest to do, you got the tack down and then you twist it and then put it on. I think when I originally did it, I didn't, or I tacked it down on the far side and then made the loops, and I think I'm happier with how this one turned out. So it is coming along nicely. I didn't have a chance to consult on, I didn't have a chance to consult on ways to line, so that's gonna have to wait another week or so. Not sure. We'll see how things come together. What would it be? And that's all the knitting. Like, ooh. Well, that's not too crazy. It was like, I'd do all the knitting in 5 minutes, or 2 minutes or something like that. It was 7. It's okay. I did manage to get some spinning done, and then I also had a chance to weigh this guy to figure out where I was on this project, and like, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, yeah, just like that. So this is the Greenwood Fiber Works. Yes, it is Fiberworks. I like looking for a tag somewhere. So this is 50% silk in the arcade colorway, and it's been my travel around the spindle project. So I did get some spinning done on this. I am to 1.3 ounces left of this ply. So I've done about 0.7, I suppose, on the spindle so far. So I did work on it a little bit, and it was sort of magical. So, what is it? We ended up having knit night in a slightly different location, because, what is it? Me and my friend ended up living north, so we decided to have tacos north and then do the Starbucks nearby. And so it was a different, what was it? So I had never actually hung out in the Starbucks before, so it was a case where it's like, knit on a scarf, and then I'm sewing on buttons, and I'm like, okay, it's time to spin some of this spindle project. And then it was like the case where, like, one of the one who was sitting at a table nearby was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome, because they were like both looking like fascinated. And then someone at another table nearby is like, oh wow, that's really cool, I'm a crafter too. So it was like, as soon as you took out the spinning, then that like reduced the inhibitions enough that people would talk. So I just had to laugh about, what is it, like, okay, we're talking. So like they were curious about what material I was using, and I was happy to answer. So I got a little bit further on this. What it be? So it'll just keep traveling around with me. But it is luscious to work on, and what it be? It is nice to get into like a rhythm with spindle spinning, so it seems to open myself up in a way that knitting doesn't, if you know what I mean. So that was cool. What was it? I ended up finishing 2 spins. We'll just sort of be random and out of order. So what I have here is, so, back it up a little bit. I started a sweater spin. And based on the nature of said sweater spin, I wanted to make sure I had all my bobbins clear. And this had been on my bobbins. Sorry, I'm just tremendously amused by how springy it all is. So I'd had this spin on there since April. This is actually a sample from the Judith McKenzie class I took at Fiberfest. And what I ended up doing, or the thought process was that you blended the merino and silk on the fly on cards, and then you spun off the cards, which was really cool. So everything was still nicely aligned, but then you got that blending thing that you could get with cards. I still have a decent amount of the silk left because I was probably a little bit too sparing with the silk. And one thing that I noticed was that because the staple length of the silk was a little bit longer, that I would tend to like slurp up all of the silk pretty quickly and then do like a round of merino. But I am really happy with the yarn, so I ended up getting 110 yards and half an ounce, which is pretty fine. Definitely lighter than a lace weight, which was pretty cool, because I would say it was probably 50% thinner, or 2/3, or yeah, probably. So, sorry, I'm trying to like figure out the right ratio. So it'd be the case, or what is it? If a fine spin for me was like 600 yards and 4 ounces, this would have been closer. It was closer to 900 yards. So you know what I mean? So it was probably 1/3 thinner or 50%. I don't know. I still need to wash it. As you can tell by the tremendous sproing going on. But I am really happy with how it turned out. It also has like really nice sheen to it, which is cool. So it's not enough to do anything with, so it is a pretty, excuse me, it's pretty big for a sample. So I don't know if it'll go in the stash for a while and simply be, or live with all of my other samples in the stash. Not sure. But it did turn out really pretty, so get close. Oh. So, I don't know, the shine isn't necessarily coming through on the camera, but would it be cool little project. Definitely was a good learning exercise and sort of opened up some new possibilities. But it had been sitting there for way too long, so I think I was sort of worried about getting through all my bin spins, which is why it sat for a while, but we're all good now. The other thing, and this I actually did wash, was I did end up finishing my nest spin. So this was sort of left over from the October through December spin along. So this is Madame de Pompadour. And I ended up getting it in a Targhee bamboo silk. So definitely has very soft, very fun yarn. I'm wondering whether or not my chain ply ended up plumping up more than my 3-ply did, because it looks like they're very different in weight now. So I ended up even counting the yardage. So I ended up getting 274 yards of my 3-ply and 252 yards of my chain ply. And then I had 16 yards of my leftovers from the 3-ply. So pretty good yardage overall. What'd that be? So like 550. 550 for a 3-ply is pretty good. And the 3-ply is still a little curly, but I think that's more how it dried than anything I strictly speaking did. So, let's see. Figure I got everything here. So I was just surprised at, try to find a good way to compare. So I finished the chain plying, and you can see this guy here is the chain ply, and then this guy here is the 3-ply. So this is the first time I've done the 3-ply 2 ways. And definitely, what would it be? They're definitely very similar yarns. I wouldn't say that after finishing it, it was like, oh man, I wish I had done all of it one way. Which is good. It's, what would it be? I can appreciate that they're different. And then this is my little leftover chain ply from the other guy. So, I think I just ended up spinning the 3-ply a lot finer because this chain ply is pretty fine in comparison to this guy here, which based on the yardages makes a lot of sense. But one of these is really cool. I don't know what project I'm going to use it in. I'm wondering actually whether or not they actually have enough contrast between each other to put them in the same project. Like, I was thinking that they were going to be very different from each other, but really overall, like, it's all self-consistent and works together, you know what I mean? So I'm not entirely sure what I want to do, or whether or not there was more shrinkage and skein in one or the other. It doesn't really look that way. It looks like if they shrunk the same amount. So, but interesting. I guess I did get 25 more yards out of the other one, so looks like this chain ply is a different look though. So it was fun. What would it be? I think that was a good way of doing the spin along. I was a little bummed I couldn't do it in the time allotted, but such is life. I also find it interesting, what would it be, how much more of the more neutral colors ended up sort of coming out in this guy. So there were like yellows and browns and reds, and then it seemed like in the braid itself there was a decent amount of this sort of pale, light grayish blue. But then the grayish blue doesn't end up coming across very much in like the skein itself. So let's see if we can show the contrast. There we go. Like, bring it in, focus, bring it out. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be quite right. No detail shot. Detail shot isn't working. So, what do we? So that was a nice spin. So that was Ness for the Completely Twisted and Arbitrary group. What it be? And that was sort of, those were the lingering things on, or those were the things that had been on my bobbins that I wanted to get off. So I did start my Crazy Pants combo spin. And, ooh boy, is it Crazy Pants. Let's see. I don't know whether or not I can make this work. Well, that's definitely not one of them. Alright. We got some. Do we have them all? Just keep pulling. I think. So, we're missing one still. Nope. Aha, got it. Alright, so here is the story. So I have 5 different braids of Ness fiber that earlier I ended up breaking up into many pieces, I think 64, and then putting them in my bag. So I have 5 different fibers in there. I have mousse, which is a Polworth, Fairy Tale, which is a Falkland, Elixir, which is a Finn, Poppy, which is Superwash Merino, and I can tell when I'm spinning Poppy, it's so much different. And then the last one is Aminar, which is a Merino Silk Blend. And I think the way I ended up splitting it is... Whoa! I almost lost that. Ooh, that was super duper exciting. That looks to be very frozen. I was like, okay. Hopefully we didn't lose anything. I almost lost my coffee. So, I have put it all in my giant bag. We'll put that there. Which I put it in a red bag, and now I'm filled with regret, because the red really saturates your eye, and it doesn't really give you a true sense of what you got. But, so I have these 5 different braids that are all different fibers, and now I am combining them together. And the colors that I ended up going with sort of have I have 4 colors that are sort of dominating, which is like, whew, it's a little bit scary right now. I'm I'm a little bit nervous. So I have purples, blues, oranges, and pinks. So let's see. I don't think I have a lot of pink showing on my bobbin right now. So where the pinks and the oranges are probably more of the warmer side of things, and then the blues and purples are on the cooler side. It is very bright and super cheerful. And probably a decent more pastel than I think I was originally intending. So let's see. We got some Aminar, we got some Poppy, we got some Fairy Tale, or actually this is Elixir, this is some Fairy Tale, and then Alright, here we go. And then we got some Muse. Nope. That's not right. Oh, I see. So, this one's Muse, this one's Fairy Tale. So, we've got all of these different things going on, and then these colors are combining, and I'm trying to do a good job of mixing it up on the bobbin. So, sort of pulling up, queuing up probably 7 to 9 pieces, and then sort of making sure they're mixed up, and then spinning onto the bobbin, and then trying to move my hook regularly. I sort of lost track here, so I'm sort of filling in again, and then I'm working my way across. Let's see if we can't get that a little bit closer. Like a little bit closer now. But whoo, buddy. There's definitely some very crazy stuff going on here. And what would it be? I'm also sort of living on the edge because it isn't like I've made like a sample 3-ply either. I'm probably just gonna like fill up the whole stinking, fill up 3 bobbins, and I might even fill up all 5 of my bobbins. I don't know. I do have a jumbo bobbin, so I'd be okay for plying. But then just trying to be random and crazy, and eventually, hopefully, put together a 3-ply sport weight yarn that makes sense. And it might be fingering, whatever. It's not like it's a big deal. With the hope being to make a still light tunic with it. So, coming along, what would it be? It's definitely very interesting, some of these more icy pastel blues in there. And then the Aminar tends to be, it has that pastel pink and then that bright orange in it. So, definitely, what would it be? The Amanar was probably the most challenging color of the bunch to put in, just because it really isn't like my normal color sense at all, but I think everything will be synthesized together, and I'm probably going to be working on this spin for some time. So the current thing is, what would it be? Like going through the process of filling up that first bobbin and then going from there. So at least to start, I know when I was splitting up the yarn that I had lots of leftover poppy bits, so the beginning is probably a little bit more poppy than the rest of the spin's going to be overall. And hopefully I get a pretty good looking 3-ply. But it's definitely challenging me right now. That is a given. So, would be. I think it's gonna be a while to spin. I'm assuming it's gonna take me a few months to do. And then probably what I'll end up doing is filling all of my bobbins with singles and then sort of going between bobbins in order to mix it up more, making sure that I'm taking old and new and all of that other stuff in order to put it together. Not being afraid to mix. But it's a pretty good in the dark project, so it's making things okay for the time being. So I do have some things sort of queued up. What is it? So I have my, I have the sock project queued up, not necessarily, so these are the balls I ended up winding on my trip to Arkansas in October. So these are destined to become socks. I'm not sure that I'm going to do anything crazy with them. I was pondering whether or not I actually wanted to do like a cookie A pattern with them, because overall they're fairly solid in nature, so I was sort of pondering if I wanted to do something from like Sock Innovation, because that's the one cookie A book I do own, or just doing vanilla boring socks. And then the other thing that I haven't wound yarn for but probably will, what is it? But probably will tonight, is my breathing space. So I'd like to get going on that one. What was it? And then I'll so that's sort of where I am right now. Is I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to start socks or sweater first for my other project, or whether or not I'm just going to keep rolling on the cowl until it's done. It's definitely way closer to, or what is it? It's not like it's too far away from completion at this point. Let's see. Okay, that's going to be a pretty safe spot for my coffee. So I ended up having a pretty good mail day yesterday, and I think I got my most terrifying tool ever. So I put in an order to Woolery in December for a hackle, and I ended up throwing in some other things with the thing. So I ended up getting 8 ounces of scoured BFL, so that's cool. I'm really curious how this is going to end up working up. What it be, so I'll get to do some processing of clean fleece, which sounds sort of attractive right now, and it'll be fun to play with the BFL. And it was like such like a screaming deal. like I want to say it was $5 for the thing at BFL, and then I was like trying to order a sweaters quantity, but really there was just one left. Alas, I don't know what it is, but I then also got a time straightener. So this is a tool to help bend your combs, the tines of your comb back into the right position. So I figured that was going to be a pretty helpful thing. And then I got my hackle. So I haven't installed it anywhere yet. It is pretty terrifying in the grand scheme of things. And I'll have to do a little bit of cleaning out. But like this piece of cardboard, like it almost pierced through the cardboard in some places, so that was pretty ridiculous. But I got a 2-tine hackle, and there's like definitely some styrofoam in there, but sort of terrifying. But the hope here is that I can now take my... It's like I need floss to get all of this. This styrofoam out of here. But that I can now blend stuff as if to comb. So this should be a really fun tool to play with. I'm really excited about it. What was it? I ended up messaging the customer service from really like, hey, it's been a long time. And apparently I think the holidays ended up messing up the shipping because apparently they're made in Russia. I don't know. So I was glad to have that. They 2-day shipped it and whatever. I ended up having that for free shipping anyway, so it's not like it was a big deal. But should be fun. I'm probably, like I was all hot on getting this so that I could make a for reals sort of skein for my fleece sweater spin, but now the urgency is a lot lower, so it may be a little bit before I actually start playing with this guy. But should be interesting. What would it be? I'm sort of blinking at the moment. But I can see all sorts of cool things that can be done with this from like a blending perspective. What would it be? And the fact that it can handle way more fibers. So this is a lot finer than my combs are. So that'll also be interesting. So I'll probably just whack some fiber on and then diz it off and call it good. So I was excited to get this. I probably need to find some throwaway rubber bands to keep it stored like so, because this is definitely the most terrifying. I also got the table clamps for it too. So this is definitely probably the most terrifying fiber accoutrement I have ever bought. But such is life. So, okay. So we can probably, I was trying to find like the appropriate way of stashing this bad boy. And making sure that I also keep the keep everything sort of contained for the times when I'm not using it. So, should be good. What it be? I'll be excited to use it, but I don't quite have a project right now to use it on, so. But, okay. So, I think the thought process is it's not a hobby if you can't get named, and that definitely could name you. Oh, shenanigans. So, in terms of other cool things, I'm taking part in a combo swap, so we'll probably be getting the fiber probably in the late January, early February timeline. So that'll be an interesting project, so we'll see how far I get on my combo spin to figure out how in the world we're going to do that. Apparently, we might be calling it the Combo Olympics. So that should be a fun one, and that would also be sort of the same concept as the breaking things up, or breaking up whatever, several colorways and trying to make something that'll work. What would it be? So that should be fun. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think everything else has been really super duper quiet. Next week, I'm probably going to be recording on Sunday instead of Saturday, but who knows, I don't know. Hopefully there's going to be a lot of card knitting time, but I don't know. And considering how surprised I was with how much card knitting I managed to even do with all that focus, perhaps it won't be as much as I think. But I guess it's the case where you like have that hope that you'll be like starting new projects, so I'm definitely, ready for that. Ready for something new, or what would it be? Because I think that's the case. I'll get like a few whips going, and then I'll just want to whip down, and then things will come back, whatever, and then after I whip down, then sort of get things going again, and then clear the decks. So I'm sort of in a clear the decks mood right now, but definitely excited about getting to start some new things. What would it be? Thinking. So, I think that's everything this week. I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.